The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, good afternoon, good morning, good evening for the global audience all over the world here. We've got about 160 people with us. We'll soon get up to 250 very soon. So I thank you all for joining us. This is a collaboration between International Federation of Engineering Education Societies, Global Engineering Dean Council, and Indo-Universal Collaboration for Engineering Education to help people who are trying to do their best in this crisis that we have through online learning community for an online teaching and learning. And so we're delighted to have Dr. Serene Tekinai, who is who is the Dean of the Global Engineering Deans Council. So she's the chair of the Global Engineering Deans Council. So Serene, over to you.
Thank you so much, Krishna. Hello, everyone. I hope everybody is healthy and safe. It is my pleasure and privilege to introduce to you our Professor Vian Ahmed. I'm the Dean of College of Engineering at the American University of Sharjah, and Dr. Vian is our Director of Alternative Teaching and Learning Delivery. She's a full professor. She has joined American University of Sharjah just a couple of years ago after 22 years of academic experience in the United Kingdom. She also has industrial experience. She's a senior fellow of the United Kingdom Higher Education Academy and a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Building. So without further ado, I will give you Dr. Vian Ahmed, but not before I note what a privilege it is to have her at hand at the time of crisis when we had to transition all of our teaching onto the online platform in 3 days with our 113 people. So with that, thank you, Vian, for being here. So please start.
Okay, Vian, I will give you the screen in just a second. Okay, click show my screen and you'll be ready to go. Yep.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Shireen, for this lovely introduction. It spares me talking about myself to start with. Also, thank you for inviting me to this session. Hello, everybody around the world, faculty, students, and whoever you are out there. So today, really, I want to share our experience at integrating the technology at times of crisis at the American University of Sharjah, something we are extremely proud of and would love to share with you. But before I start, it's always good to set the scene and take you with me on a journey down memory lane. So when I was a young researcher, the technology was very basic, but it meant everything to us. That little small Macintosh computer with the floppy disks were our livelihood, and this is how we did our research at the time. We were hooked on these machines when they arrived. But then the technology started to develop, and some of us would remember when the zip drives arrived and when the CDs arrived. And the technology in the 90s was very, very limited, but it was also interactive. It was mainly computer-based programming and so on to generate some simulation games and so on. And that was the era of the 90s. But the 90s also brought in a lot of good things. It was an era of multimedia development, and this is when I got engaged in my research in multimedia. And there were so many initiatives around the world where they supported and funded projects within higher education. So it was a brilliant time to discover the technology and engage in it. However, As technology moves fast, all these tools became redundant with time, and there was so much time and money invested in these tools, but then they all kind of went to waste. However, we built on our knowledge through the development or further development of the technology, where the internet arrived, and I remember moving from wired modems to mobile technologies, having that sense of liberation, working away from my research office and coming back home, and not having to be stuck to near the computer and a socket somewhere, and moving forward. And then it was an era of virtual and immersive realities that arrived in the 2000 to 2010. And if you remember, many universities even launched virtual reality programs integrated in design and technology programs, and so on. And many of us as academics at some point had to engage in these activities as well. And we moved on to an era of smart technologies, where the internet has come up with speed. We have now the cloud. We are into an era of big data, sensor technology, and augmented reality. And there's so many tools out there and so much technology out there that we could absolutely utilize and use for the benefits of our students and education. But technology has moved very fast, but unfortunately, I don't believe that it has been always effectively utilized, which is part of the challenges to what we are facing today. But beside these challenges, it's not just the technology that we have not utilized, but all along the years, we live in a very challenging world, and we have been living in these challenging and dynamic circumstances that are absolutely forever changing. The world is changing due to the global warming issues and disasters that happen unexpectedly, and terrorism, and now disease has affected so many of us. But also that impacts on the economy and the fluctuation in of the economy, and governments changing their agendas and policies. But amongst all these dynamic changes, it's always higher education that seems to suffer, or to be one of the sectors that are at the frontiers of the sufferers, rather. So recruitment suffer, retention suffers, programs of study suffer, graduate employment suffers, faculty retention suffer, resources suffer, so, and the quality of our teaching and so on all suffer. So these are the times when really such change will have a great impact on higher education, and these are the times we really need to be equipped and to challenge these changes and stand in the face of them, and also to meet the needs of the society, the forever changing society that has to face up to the disasters, immigration, migration, disease, and their needs to as working people, as single parents, and people with special needs, let alone the demands of the industry that is forever waiting for and desperate for graduates with intellectual and excellent experiential learning skills. So with all these changes, there's only one thing that hasn't changed and remains the same, and that's the pedagogy of learning, how we actually conduct our teaching practices and reach our learners through understanding the learning process, students' needs, and students' learning styles. And through that understanding, we can really produce and provide the industry with the skilled learners. And we should not forget the learning process is a continuous process, and that the mode of learning for engineering students is the experiential learning mode, where they engage in an experience and they try to reflect on it, and they form and theorize about it, and engage in active experimentation of what they have learned. And we shouldn't forget that people have different learning styles, and students have different preferences to learning. Some of them may prefer to feel the experience they got in touch with and watch. Some of them like to think and watch. Some like to think and do, and others like to feel and do. And for sure, there are studies that show that our engineering students generally fit in the converging learning style, where they like to think and do. And this is probably one of the reasons why, when we don't nourish our students with the competencies that they need to gain, they sometimes drop out or disengage. So an ideal learner would be one that has all these learning styles, but our role as educators is to nourish them with our practices in order to help them complete that learning cycle. And there are many ways of engaging the students into concrete experiences, such as labs and practical work, and giving them opportunities to reflect on these experiences and theorize about it and experiment with it. So when it comes to technology, technology and pedagogy have not always been best friends. And a lot of us in higher education have witnessed that. But at the same time, we should not be slaves to the technology. We should be very careful at these times not to be overexcited about a lot of vendors and service providers and software vendors who come and sell things for us, so we can just be slaves to these technologies. We have to think and reflect carefully and make sure that our the technology derives our pedagogy and not the other way around. But at the same time, when we get it right and our teaching practices, which is our pedagogies, are aligned with the technologies, then we can produce a very effective learning experience that comes with it. So, with this background, I'd like to talk about our story of the pedagogy when it needed technology at times of crisis, and how we prepared for change at the College of Engineering in the American University of Sharjah. So just a bit of very brief background. This is our university front building, and we have 3 colleges, which is College of Architecture and Design and Arts and Sciences, College of Engineering, and School of Business Administration. Within our college, we have 6 departments, and we offer a number of programs for undergraduate, master's, and doctoral programs within this college. Our students are come from different backgrounds and come from they are of different nationalities. The largest intake of undergraduate students is within our College of Engineering. We also have PhD students and also have a number of master students. We have about 97 faculty members within the college. So with that number of faculty, we were very, very proud to move into our new engineering building last September, which was opened by the founder of the university, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed Sultan Al-Qasimi. And we were very lucky to have a building that is fully equipped with interactive smart screens, lecture capture systems, smart lighting systems, and advanced audiovisual systems to prepare us for even further smart integration of further smart technologies in the future. So we're very proud of our facilities. However, when we look back to how much of the technology we have used, it hasn't been really a great deal of technology before these crises have arrived. But we took some small steps towards preparing for the Commission of Academic Accreditation's license in order to enable us to have our courses accredited and to move towards blended learning. And when we talk about blended learning, we thought we will take very small steps to do that by just engaging students through synchronous and asynchronous modes. And synchronous means that it's just-in-time teaching, and asynchronous is at a distance in their own time. And there was evidence, I checked on the website, how many of us have actually engaged in the training that was offered by our ITS team. And really there were not many, although there were some initiatives on board, and there was a slow intake of the technology. And we have faculty that are very passionate about their teaching, but this wasn't really our way of delivering our teaching. Although we have Blackboard as our virtual learning environment, and we have all our classrooms equipped with cameras and smart screens and Panopto for lecture capture. So we had the technology, we had the environment, but really we only took very small steps towards integrating the environment. And we did a bit of a survey here and there, and we engaged faculty. There was a small focus group of us, different initiatives within the university, and we were all for the technology. We thought, yes, we should be using it to help us with our flexible delivery. It will cater for students' learning styles, and it could make learning fun. But we also identified some of the challenges, like perhaps institution commitment towards staff time, resources, and if it goes wrong, then it could have an impact on our reputation and so on. So there were pluses and negatives, and we kept for some weeks really turning and tossing around these things while our application was growing and maturing with the time, and I believe it is still possibly work in progress. But what we had as a good practice within our College of Engineering is we had identified technology supported learning coordinators within each department within the College of Engineering. And myself as Director of Alternative Delivery, I would communicate with all these coordinators so we can go backward and forward in order to identify what is the faculty need, what are their needs, what sort of technology we should be integrating, what sort of training we should be promoting. And the IT services was a great player in liaising with us in order to provide us with any software, any technology as needed. So this was an initiative that we started to work on, and we launched it last October before the crisis started, and we took very small steps. We shared our all minutes of the committee that was formed of the technology supported learning coordinators and IT, and also library. So many parties were part of a committee that we formed, and we had an open platform to share our practices and have identified certain champions within each department to come up with, to speed with some sort of best practices or examples that we can all share and use. We now use this platform to share all the training material on iLearn and so on. So it's open to all faculty so they know what sort of activities we are conducting. But one of the best practices that we've actually also introduced was to train our GTAs, the graduate teaching assistants that have been sponsored by the university to do their PhD. We started with a small cohort of PhD students. We conducted a training program for them, and we wanted them to support with our teaching. And this is a lovely small ceremony. It was at the time of arrival of our new dean, Dr. Shirin, and we celebrated their achievement by completing their program of training program for technology supported learning. And they've been a great asset to us as faculty to support us with our development. And we do take pride of our students. And this is Sarah, my GTA. She says that being certified as a trained GTA, it adds a value to my future. It has made me confident. I found it very interesting and a valuable experience, and so on. So we honor their contribution, and in return, they have been great asset to support us. So that's been a really good practice to prepare the next generation of educators in order to engage in the technology and support us to migrate into the new era of the technology. And then Corona arrived. It was a very sudden, unexpected set of circumstances. We found ourselves in it. We had an announcement that on the 2nd of March, everyone needs to engage in training, and we all fully physically engaged in the training. So I'd say 97 of us as faculty, all within 3 days, we did what we could not do in the last 18 months. And on the 6th of March, students were asked to stay at home, and we had to deliver online. So we were ready there. Within 4 days, we were starting to deliver our material online. But by the 19th of March, we were all asked to stay at home and work from home. So we have not stopped teaching as some other universities I heard they have. We have continued to support the students with their development. So we engage in the first type of mode of delivery, and that's to use synchronous modes of delivery using Blackboard Collaborate. I know many of you out there would know this software and you would know this interface. So I don't want to oversimplify it and demonstrate it, because I am, for one, I have used this synchronous mode since 2014 as a director of the first online PhD program in the UK. And at the time it was called Horizon Wimba, and we've seen versions and versions of it that have arrived. So with the expectation that most of you know this interface, you would know that you can share PowerPoints, you can share computer screens and applications, you can do polling within, and to get students to take a vote on a question you post, and you have breakout sessions, and you need a microphone and a webcam, just like we are doing at the moment in our interaction. For those of you who are not very familiar, there is a link that you can visit later in order to understand more about this technology. So from day one, we found IT services have created courses for us. Each one of us, we had our courses with the online offices to access our courses. What I did for my course in particular, I decided that I want my own virtual classroom to meet our students in the classroom. My own virtual office to meet our students in my own time. And also in my course, I had groups working together. This is the Capstone Master course, which has 3 groups. And so I created a virtual learning environment for each group so they can exchange thoughts, ideas, prepare their presentations amongst themselves and come and present in the formal lecture session, which is held usually once a week from 6 to 9. So it's a good, you can we could set the participants in whatever virtual environment, in virtual office we want. We can set them as participants, presenters, or moderators, and we can also set the sessions so that they are repeated on weekly basis. So what I found most interesting that I didn't realize this interface had was we are able to view the reports and to whoever is joined the session. So attendance, students' attendance could actually be monitored. And to my surprise, students before used to come in the evening tired, shattered, coming from all over the place, working and arriving late. To my surprise, they have actually engaged in the session and have been turning up just on time, almost on time. So it tells you a bit about their attendance, and you can monitor if anybody's late. The way we set it is that if you are 10 minutes late, then you will be marked late. And I am very proud of our students, how committed they felt. And then we could record the sessions. This Blackboard, this interface can help us, the Blackboard Collaborate can help us record the sessions. We can share the PowerPoint slides. We can make annotations on the whiteboard, and we can even create breakout sessions for the students. We can give them a task, move them into virtual rooms where they can work together in groups and so on, and then pull them back to the main session as we wish, which is a great idea when you have problem-based learning, for example. So this function is very useful. It's good for managing a large number of attendees, whether they are students or in the future we're going to have, for example, induction days for the new students. Whether we are on campus or not, this is a great facility to actually engage program directors and so on into pulling groups of students who are applying to university courses to come into these breakout sessions, and we can have every program director into each session to attend to specific inquiries and interests of the candidates. The interface also has a function to allow polling, and that's a voting system. You can post a question and then the students can interact and answer yes or no, and you have a variety of questions. So we had, when we were still on campus delivering online and still on campus, but the students were off campus, we found our interactive smart TVs were brilliant because we could connect to collaborate and use the interactive TV to interact with the slides, to write, especially those who have colleagues who have a lot of mathematical concepts to derive and exchange with the students. So the interactive screens were absolutely brilliant. But then when we went home, there was no interactive screen. We had to work from home, and we found that to write on the whiteboard was a challenge. So we had to order some digital tablets. We had ordered digital tablets just to test them and trial them before we were asked to work at home. We increased the number, but then more demands increased because people understood how to use Collaborate and what tools will be needed. But we found challenges. There were budget constraints. We picked a very expensive model, but then we had to compromise and choose a cheaper one for the rest of the faculty. Time procuring the orders was absolutely tight. We had within 24 hours to make the final order before our buildings were closing. And IT were quite rightly sending a very clear message that they cannot meet individual demands and selecting specific tablets for teaching because they needed to meet certain standards, and there would have been difficulties to provide maintenance to non-standard tablets. So all these challenges we faced, but we pulled through them, and there was such a great sense of community, people sharing some of the tablets. I know some, we were very cautious about the hygiene and so on, but we all had a common understanding to clean the devices and so on when we share them. And then the tablets arrived and just recently, and we will be having soon some training to show faculty how to use them, or perhaps if they have any difficulties in using them, what are the issues and so on. But what's great about the American University is that we have also, with collaboration and coordination with IT services, we managed to deliver these to the homes of the faculty. So all is good. We've also found some of the tools to help our communications. I know these are simple tools, but there are a lot of times we hardly use them or think of using them. But the way we've coordinated this it's been absolutely brilliant. We had all the technology supported learning coordinators on board, understanding what training issues are needed within the departments, what are the specific requirements and equipments needed, and then we gathered all the requests on shared spreadsheets and documents, and then IT services were able to pick up these just in time. And it was such a wonderful, wonderful sense of the community that we all wanted to do this for the students. And it was incredible. Nobody said my workload is heavy. None of that I have witnessed myself. So we all worked together in the same spirit. Of course, we will be having more and more sessions that will be introduced by IT services in order to help us to come up to speed with our skills and so on. But in the process, we also have a lot of success stories to tell. We have successfully, the Dean, Professor Shirin, has successfully conducted the assembly last week, and believe it or not, we had a full house, all on time. All our faculty so proudly attended the assembly, and it ran really smoothly, something maybe we couldn't achieve when we were in our building, because we always had to rush around for meetings and so on. But on this occasion, it worked really brilliantly. Our Dean, she holds her hangout with the Dean meetings, which really keeps the students in touch, keeps faculty in touch, and it's all done through Collaborate. And we have a growing bank of delivered training sessions online. We can revisit them. IT services have been extremely supportive. So, and we also had very positive students' experience so far. This is a slide that I've borrowed from my colleague, Dr. Mahdi, from mechanical engineering, and all the feedback he got from the students for his course was positive. So it says, I managed to join and follow the virtual class with no major issues. Most of the students agree. Presentation was clear in terms of sound and video. Most agree. It was easy to follow the professor. Most agree. And I managed to interact well with the professor. So all has been positive. What I did for my course was also brilliant, and that's thanks to my GTA, Sarah, who has actually helped me use mobile apps to assess my students' experience just in time while they were in the classroom. So while I had 11 people, 12 people attending my classroom, we used mobile apps, and they had their mobiles somewhere wherever they were in a distance location, and asked them how is their experience so far, and most of them said it was excellent. We did a word cloud exercise where we've asked them in their own words how they how would they explain distance learning, and most of them have put great, and you can see the words here. It's great for learning. And we also captured their thoughts on how we can improve their experience. Some of them said it was perfect, some of them said I'm happy as it is, some of them said we could do with a break, some said maybe we can make it more interactive. We will take all these things on board, but all in all, we have a success story. PhD students also gave this testimony and says, I asked how do you like your online learning experience, and one of the students said actually it's great. We all feel the same way. It's not just me. And the sessions can be recorded and revisited later, which is a plus. But when we asked them would they like to continue, they said, well, probably yes, to some extent. So they don't really mind the online delivery, but it could be given as an option. And how can we do better? They said that they have 3-hour session. They could do with a break or recording these sessions. And many believe that professors like the idea of the online delivery, but maybe not for large numbers of students. So we had also faculty testimonials. They all were positive, mainly. Some of them were to do with technical issues they faced, and some of them were saying that they were nervous in the beginning, but then now they are feeling better about the technology, and they found some of the facilities we offer also brilliant. So all in all, it's been a very, very good experience, but there are challenges as well. We don't have policies when it comes to ethics, about professional engagement online, do's and don'ts of the work ethics, recording the sessions. We don't really understand the ethics behind it, and we need some policies and rules around them. And also the code of conduct in relation to data collection, as students have to do their projects in the near future and have to approach organizations. All these policies need to be in place as soon as possible so we can confidently move on. So that was the synchronous mode. As for the asynchronous mode, we use Blackboard iLearn as our main interface. I am sure most of higher education institutions, they know Blackboard and they have used it for years. So this is not really to explain what Blackboard is, but we have started to engage in the assessment on Blackboard, but I know that this is a sensitive issue. This is not about exams. We're not going to touch on exams on this session. It's just about using the assessment tools on iLearn. We've come up to speed with level 1 training in terms of learning how to produce online assessments, mainly as diagnostic tests to give the students the opportunity to engage and reflect in the process, how to submit assignments online, how to grade them, and so on. So one feature that I found was interesting, because I was asked how to do this, and to be quite honest, I wasn't in need of it, so I didn't really I had to search to understand how it's done. One of our colleagues from civil engineering, he gives the students homeworks which are purely mathematical, and students have to do their homework when submitted in handwriting, and the challenge of how do I do I mark this when they are at a distance? And then we figured out a way that this can be scanned. The students can take a picture of it. They can submit it online via iLearn. And there is a feature within iLearn assessment tools where you can actually add feedback and make annotations on the scanned copy. So that was an interesting one that we have faced. But other than that, we are progressing with the training, and as of next week, we will start to build around these tools and engage in more training. Panopto is interesting. It is what we use for lecture capture in our university, and it's a great tool for communicating lecture material, making videos, editing it, importing quizzes and slides into them, and switch cameras between the presenters and the screen. This would have been a typical day of me going to the classroom, starting to record my lecture session in our smart classrooms. And this is how Panopto would have worked. I would share I would be recording my slides, and they would be projected on the screen, and I would archive my recorded sessions and send them to iLearn within my course area. And also students, I would record their presentations for good practice, so that they can have access to them later on and reflect on their mistakes. I can reflect on what they've said in case I've missed out something, and do my marking based on what they have presented. All these sessions are archived and can be pulled down by the students and by myself. And while the crisis happened and we were still in the building, we used Panopto to record. Some of us record our sessions and post them online, as well as interact with the collaborate. Panopto in the past has also given us the opportunity to use it for synchronous mode of delivery, so that whenever we had invited speakers, we can record this, and it will be a live recording as we are doing now, and the whole thing would be just-in-time delivery, and all the sessions would be archived later on to be shared with the learning community within the university. We haven't used that yet, but Panopto has that capability, and I'm sure before long we can move into this technology and try again from a distance. Panopto can also enable you to embed quizzes within your recorded lecture, where you can edit the recording, import the quizzes, and add a number of multiple choice questions. So that's as far as Panopto is concerned. What I was most impressed about in our university is the remote access tools for the students. The first thing that came to my mind, and I wasn't aware this even was available at our university, is that I need Microsoft Project. Where can I get it from? Because we have such a great IT team in the university, they always do things for us. So I never really even needed to look at this, but it is very interesting. The tools what they have provided us is unbelievable. We can all download the VPN, our virtual private network, and access any software that we need in order to download it, whether we are students or we are faculty. And there are a number of tools that are there. And here is the examples of some of the software that can be just within minutes be downloaded, and students can access them and work on their assignments and so on, which is absolutely brilliant. While we're all engaging in all these technologies, synchronous, asynchronous, I think the one that I loved so much while I was worried about the laboratory and so on, I asked one of our technicians, Riyadh, how did you manage to run your hydraulics lab? And he said, I simply just took a video in my mobile phone and I videoed the experiment, which I thought it was a really quick, smart way of doing this, especially if you don't have a lecture capture technology in the lab. So these are the things that we have coped and dealt with while standing on our feet. In all of this, I think I loved the idea that Dr. Malik has come up with. And while he says in this little small video that if you can play in your own time later on, that this crisis has created a great sense of community amongst the academics. So it's amongst our community. That is a really, really heartfelt thought that we all have felt and shared. So he has created, he's gone to social media, he's created a group and invited groups of people to join him on social media in order to air out any of the issues that people are facing, to share common practices, to tease out the problems and so on. And if anything, I think these are the times when we should all be learning from the best, humbly sharing our experiences and coming together as a community. IT services have been absolutely incredible. I just can't say more than really a big thank you. Sorry, I'm just drinking some water.
Yeah.
Yes. So I would say a big thank you. I think the message here is that the power of any institution is projected through the strength of its IT infrastructure. And that has been provided to us by IT services. So Mr. Nabil, who is now joined us here in this webinar.
Yes, he's here.
Yes, he's giving a really good testimonial, and he says that I am really proud and impressed with the capabilities of our faculty who managed to flip their classes from traditional to the online mode of delivery with such fast speed. And this is really truly what happened. And also our dean, who says that I'm impressed with the state of the art infrastructure capable of adopting the different modes of teaching and learning that were already in use at AUS. We all feel the same way. We were fully equipped, but we just needed to come up to speed. But also she makes a very important comment on the future. Online delivery for engineering education has specific needs, different than other higher education needs. Our labs, design projects, and internships also have to be virtual yet meaningful experiences. And I guess this would be the challenge. This is what we all have to work on. So in summary,
we need to leave time for comments and questions.
Yes, okay. Yes, do you want, I am finishing off now, yes. So we have to make as a summary, we have to make our students a priority, and they are a priority, and our sense of community and spirit will make sure that they remain that priority. We should not compromise quality. We should not be slaves for the technology. The corona crisis is a wake-up call for us to transform our practices. Technology is capable of bringing the field into the classroom. We should expect different expectations from our students. Now they have experienced this. We should value and contribute, value our own contribution and the contributions of others, and keep acknowledging it from students, managers, faculty, admin, and all those who have tried to keep us safe. Students' feedback on the online delivery, we need to take it on board and work on it and learn from the best, and trust our leaders that we need to follow their vision as they will take us forward. So I will leave you with the final thoughts that innovation distinguishes between leaders and followers, and most importantly, we need to encourage dissatisfaction, support experimentation, and shape opportunities for transformation. So based on that, I am sending you all a gift in order to cheer you up all. My best friend and colleague, Dr. Salwa at the department, she sent me via WhatsApp this song that is really reflects the mood of the day by an academic who's trying to survive the online teaching. So I hope in your own time you will enjoy it as much as I enjoyed it. And I'm ready for questions with Nabil with me on board.
Okay, we have just a little bit of time left, so we'll just have some comments from our panelists and a few questions. Hans, you want to jump in and make a few comments here? Hans, and then we have, let's see, Uriel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Professor Ahmed, this is Hans Hoyer of IFEES and GDC. This was a very creative, very thoughtful presentation. I appreciate very much, Dr. Shireen, that you facilitated your engagement. I was powerfully impressed by what you said and one of your colleagues, to quote, "This crisis creates a sense of global community." And what you've done is a wonderful example of how the global community can come together and learn from each other. Thank you for your wonderful work, madam.
Thank you,
Thank
Hans.
you very much.
Uriel from Argentina, you want to make a few comments, and then we'll go to Dr. Avichal Kapoor from India. He is the Joint Secretary of the University Grants Commission. Welcome, Avichal. We'd like to have your comments too. Go ahead.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
This has been a very, very interesting presentation. Congratulations. I'm really very impressed of what you have done there, and there are a lot of very good examples. Again, thank you very much for your presentation. Very, very nice.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Dr. Kapoor, Avichal, would you like to jump in? Well, you can unmute your mic. Welcome to ask your questions. You've been texting a couple of questions. Maybe you're ready. Dr. Kapoor is the Joint Secretary of the University Grants Commission in India. Go ahead, Avichal.
Very good evening. My two questions. One is how technology ensures that synchronous interactions are interactive.
Interactivity. How do you make sure that this is interactive, this whole effort? And the second question, sir?
Second question is what percentage differentiate between synchronous engagement of the student to the asynchronous engagement of the student?
Okay. Did you get the questions, Vian? The percentage between synchronous and asynchronous, and then how do you ensure more interaction with the students?
So ensuring more interaction with the students is really the technology is there to a limited extent from what we've been using, but by making, developing some sort of online assessments and getting them to engage in these assessments. There is the polling, which I just demonstrated via Collaborate. We can even use mobile apps and technologies, but we also have other software that we will soon be training on, and that's, for example, Camtasia, which really is more giving more interactive instructional delivery, making learning more exciting. So there are a number of tools there, and this is in general. In specific, in my entire career, I've always looked for the students' learning styles, how we can embed different multimedia tools and techniques in order to engage them. So if it's visionary, if it's audio, if it is a video, everything is there, but we have to make sure that it comes together and supports students' needs and certain learning styles. So the tools are there. Panopto is one. You can dissect the lecture slides that you have created and insert within them different media, whether it's quizzes, whether it is slides or within the video. So you can blend all these tools and Panopto is one, and we are going to use Camtasia as well in order to make it more creative and interactive.
Thank you, Ian.
Yeah.
Dr. Avichal Kapoor, I would recommend that you have a lot of experience within India for Swayam and all these various programs you have. I would recommend that you suggest some names for of top people in India who can give such webinars about what's going on in India, because I'm sure there's a lot of innovation happening in India. If you can recommend some names and guide them.
That I was thinking of doing myself, because I look at the distance education of the country.
Absolutely. So,
And,
yeah.
I'll really pass on the names.
Yeah, pass on the names, and we can keep in touch with the email so we can schedule them. Okay, so we'd like to give a chance to Nabil, who is our technology person. Come in, Nabil. You want to just add any of your comments? Just give you a chance to say hello. Nabil is the key person behind the scenes here at UAE. Come in, Nabil. Any comments?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to interact with you. Like, it was like really a very nice journey to work closely with faculty to take them from like traditional teaching and learning to completely online teaching and learning. And it was really like a good experience for us as IT, as well as like we learned a lot from our faculty and how creative they were like in utilizing the technology once given to them. I would like to thank all of you guys, and I wish you all the best.
Great. Thank you, Nabil. We have almost 300 people with us and quite a few questions coming in. But I think a couple of the common themes that are here in these questions, of course, is having to do with quizzes and exams and assessment. And how can you be sure that the person taking the quiz is the right person in terms of the taking ethics and so on. And then also the question of laboratories. I think you briefly mentioned laboratories, but and also you mentioned that this may be there's room for another webinar on all of these things, but can you briefly make some comments about the quizzes and exams and laboratories through this medium, Vian?
Yes, yes. We were so far up to this point, we were told that any online assessments should not go towards the exam grades, and it should not be used as examination tools, and should really be a mechanism for formative assessment and so on. We are all facing the challenge of making it fair to all students, avoiding plagiarism and so on. So some of our faculty now have been given opportunity maybe to adjust their syllabus, and some of us have adjusted our expectations of the assignments to transform them from written, transform them into open book tasks, where we give them a problem and they go in their own time and look for it. But I know this is a hot topic, and I know as we speak we are being communicated to about the next phase, which is the examination, and there will be some sort of tools and softwares that will require another webinar by itself to show how we can engage the students in proper monitored exams at a distance. So far we have not used, to my knowledge, much of these tools in order to conduct examinations, but we are waiting for the instructions from the higher education and the university.
How about the laboratories? What is your plan for those?
Yes, the laboratories, I'm very impressed. The labs, as in physical labs, this was one example I gave in terms of how to capture what's there. But I think we will need to be more creative with the labs. At the moment, we've not been given access to the building, and the access will be very, very, very limited for very, very essential activities, and whether that involves going to the lab to capture some of the experiments and so on, I really absolutely have no idea. But maybe Nabil has been working more with the lab instructors, and maybe he's more in touch with what they have been doing at that level. Nabil,
Any comments from you, Nabil, about the labs?
yeah, like some lab instructors were really creative, and they used like some remote access tools, like to help their students, for example, in some computer programming courses, where they managed to log into students' computers remotely to help them, like, you know, fixing their code, for example. So there are like many like cases took place like successfully, and we are still like examining a lot of technologies to help like our lab instructors feel like they are in their labs but virtually.
Okay, great. So we run out of time essentially, and I like to, and this is obviously work in progress. Everybody is struggling to figure out how the next steps are. And our community, the IFEES, GEDC, and IUC, our community is also trying to help all of you around the world to make this transition and connect with each other. So we will have regular webinars like this, and in addition to that, we will have regular meetings where you can all share and have a community gathering and have meetings. And so we'll be doing that as well. So with that, I want to give this all back to Serene, the fearless leader for this whole effort, to just close the session. Come in, Serene. Are you still there?
Thank you ever so much, Krishna, and the organizers of our webinar series. You have been invaluable throughout all of this, even before the crisis, but now more than ever. I can't hide that I'm extremely proud of what we've accomplished in such a short time, thanks to you met Dr. Vian and Mr. Nabil. We have a lot of heroes back home. I want to just add one thing. At AUS, in our College of Engineering, we have more than 50 students from more than 50 different nations and 50 different cultures. You can imagine the sensitivities that we had to build into videoing and putting things on camera, and the many intricacies and finesses of different cultures. It was beautiful to add it all into technology. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Serene. Thank you, Hans. Thank you, Vichal Kapoor. Thank you, everybody, for joining. The almost 300 people. Look forward to seeing you again in the next webinar. So take care.
Thank you very much.